right. Well, welcome to the City of Iowa City. We're going to do our CIP, Capital Improvement Plan discussion today. And today is the 11th of January, 2023. So happy New Year to those that I haven't seen. On Saturday, we had a long time with some of the staff and community members, but we'll jump right into this. And so I'll hand it over to our Ron Kanoki to get us started. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Today we're happy to present the proposed 2023 through 2027 Iowa City Capital Improvements Plan. We'll use the Esri Story Map platform for the presentation, and we'd like to thank Killian Loghead and our engineering division for helping us pull together the GIS portion of this. The capital funds can be found in the proposed budget document starting on page 511. Today we have 5 objectives. The first, Nicole Davies, our finance director, will go over the plan development process and the fund summary. Second, staff will discuss the ongoing projects. There are 9 major projects that are not included in this program because the funds were previously that showed up in previous programs. Third, staff will discuss the 18 annual projects in the CIP. Fourth, staff will discuss the 117 projects that are identified in the 5-year program. The projects may not be presented in the order as they appear in the budget book, just based on how the presentation's formatted. And then the final objective is for staff to discuss projects that are considered to be on the radar. These are projects that are in the unfunded list. We have 7 of those that we just want to make sure that you're aware of as we move forward. As we go through the presentation, you will hear impacts, the pandemic, the supply chain issues, the availability of equipment and labor and inflation have had on our projects. We have had to extend schedules and rebid projects to be able to move forward. These impacts are not limited only to our projects. As we develop projects and private utility companies are coming in to relocate their facilities out of the way, they're also seeing these same impacts. So we do appreciate the opportunity to present the proposed program, and with that, I'll turn it over to Nicole.
All right, well, so we'll briefly go through just a few overarching things. So as Ron said, we'll just go briefly through this timeline. We usually kick this off right around the beginning of September. We'll send out forms to all of the departments to anything they want to request. This year, one of the things we also asked, as we've seen inflation have a major impact, is make sure anything that was even previously in the plan that you're going back, looking at it and re-estimating it so that we are more comfortable with the costs that we have in there, that we're not going to be way under budget. Once that happens, those requests are due back to finance around September 20th. This year is September 22nd. We'll take that, get it into our software, and start putting together a plan. So once we have that together, we'll send out reports to the CIP committee. They'll go through it. We'll meet. We'll talk about it. We'll go and make changes. Jeff will make lots of cuts is usually what happens. We'll come out with another reiteration. That happened the beginning of October, then meet again the end of October to get one final report. And even after that, we're still kind of tweaking it to try to get the bond funding where we need it to be and as other items come up. But then usually by the end of November, we've got the plan pretty much where we want it, and at that point we're focusing on the operating budgets, and then it comes out at the same time that the operating budget did, which to all of you, that was December 23rd. Just to kind of move into some of the high level, right, the capital program over the 23 to 27 includes $253 million worth of projects. Obviously, that's a significant amount. As you can see, the majority of that is in streets. Just to highlight a few of the big ones, that's part of that $82 million. Obviously, they'll go over it in a little bit more detail as we get into this, but in 23 this year, we have the Gilbert Street Bridge replacement. That's about $4.2 million. 24 Court Street, and that's about $8 million. And then in 25, the Dodge Street reconstruction, which right now is in the plan at $18.4 million. Another big piece in there is wastewater at $44 million. Currently in FY23, we have the Rarit sewer, that's about $4.4 million. And then as we've kind of discussed a little bit on Saturday, there's two big projects budgeted in FY24 for wastewater. One is the digester complex rehab, and then the digester gas improvements. Both of those are budgeted around $14 million. Transit, obviously, that big dollar amount there is almost all the transit facility, which we currently have budgeted in FY25. Again, assuming we get some federal dollars to come in and help with that. And then another big thing, the recreation, that 10.2 is all city park pool. Again, they'll go into more details as we get into that. The next slide breaks down the expenses by the major funding sources. Obviously, our biggest funding source for these projects is our GO bonds. One of the things I wanted to touch on, and Jeff had touched on it Saturday in the presentation, our current planned issue for 23 is about $9.7 million. It's a little lower than normal just because some of those big projects had to be pushed back. So we were trying to pull as many of the smaller ones in that we could to kind of get that close to 10 million about. But for the rest of the CI plan from FY24 to FY27, the average issuance that we currently have in here is 14.6 million. So as was mentioned on Saturday, the current debt levy can support about $11 million. And that's with two big assumptions. One, that our average taxable growth increase is 3%, which it hasn't been the last 2 years. And also that our effective interest rate stays at 5% or less. And as everyone knows, interest rates are going up, so we don't know where that's going to land either. And both of those things can play, will have an impact on what the debt levy can support. So if our taxable growth doesn't exceed, it looks like about 5%, that would get us to the 14.6. That's about what we need to get to what it currently is. There's a few options that we would have at that time, and that's to either raise the debt levy, scale back the scope of the projects, or delay or remove projects altogether. So just kind of want to give you that doom and gloom picture of where we're at with all of these projects and the costs that they're coming in and how many projects we have. I think one of the other things that you can't really see in this graph, because it kind of happens as these projects come in. This year we had a lot that came in over budget, and so we were using a lot of reserves that had been built up in the enterprise funds to help fund some of these street projects that had water main in there, stormwater, wastewater, trying to use, and the enterprise funds have always supported some of these projects, usually at a much smaller dollar amount. This year is really, right, the project came in over 600,000 over. We have to find that money somewhere, and a lot of these enterprise funds had to support that more than they have in the past. And with that, it's kind of taken down some of those reserves at the same time, too. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jason.
All right, so we're going to change gears a little bit here and start talking about specific projects. The first category here are ongoing projects. So as Ron mentioned, these are the projects that don't show up in the current plan because the funding was typically in previous years, but they're projects that are still ongoing nonetheless. Starting off with the first one, this is the Highway 6 trail. So this will be construction of a new trail on the south side of Highway 6 from Fair Meadows Boulevard to Hines Road. Construction started last fall. Anticipate that'll wrap up this coming year. Next one is the Riverside Drive pedestrian path. Some of you may remember that this project originally started as a tunnel that was to go through the railroad embankment. As we worked through that design, the railroad came back with some concerns about that and basically said that they wouldn't allow a tunnel to be installed in this location. So we had to change gears a little bit. Now we're looking at modifying the project to install a sidewalk in this location. And what we're planning to do is essentially narrow up the lanes on Riverside Drive, put a barrier there, and then provide for a sidewalk on the west side of Riverside Drive to at least get through that section and provide for that pedestrian connectivity. We're working through final design right now, hope to have that constructed this summer. Next is American Legion Road. So this is, again, from Scott Boulevard to Taft Avenue. The majority of construction has been completed. There's sidewalk and some work that needs to be done on the pedestrian underpass, as well as construction of the Taft Avenue intersection remaining on this project. Expect that construction will start up again in the spring. Hopefully that'll be completed either late spring or early summer. I would point out too, as we're looking at delays, this is one project that was severely impacted by utility delays. Getting some of those utilities out of the way became a challenge during a portion of this project and certainly contributed to the delay of construction there. Benton Street rehabilitation. This is a project that will include a crack and seat and overlay of Benton Street from Mormon-Trek Boulevard to Greenwood. It not only will include an overlay, it will also include curb ramp improvements as well as some utility work. Another piece of this project is that will include official bike lanes on Benton Street. Currently, there's a striped shoulder, but this will widen that to make it an actual bike lane. This is a project where we had to bid it multiple times just due to contractor availability, so that pushed the schedule a little bit as well. Next, we have Foster Road elevation. So this is the functional design of a project to elevate Foster Road to make it more resilient to flooding events. You can see one of the pictures there that from 2008, this is a location that did flood. This is the single access to the Peninsula neighborhood and other neighborhoods in that area, which obviously is not ideal and something that we're wanting to address. So this is the design or at least the preliminary design to look at what it would take to have a construction project to elevate Foster Road to make it more resilient to flooding. This does not include construction. Another piece of this sort of puzzle is that there has been in the past some discussion of development of the Forest View area that originally had included a secondary access to the Peninsula neighborhood and areas to the west. Obviously, with the uncertainty of that development, this would be potentially an even more important project. So again, kind of trying to find that balance of options, I guess, to provide that secondary access in the future. Rochester Avenue reconstruction. So this is the reconstruction project of Rochester Avenue, essentially from Ralston Creek to First Avenue. This is another one that started last fall, started construction roughly from the creek to about Rochester Court. There's a section that is currently closed to the traveling public. This is another one where utility relocations were a challenge. Also ran into some weather delay or weather issues with the cold coming fairly early in a typical construction season, so we were unable to pave what we were hoping to get done before the winter. So we would look at construction extending for all of 2023. The goal would be to at least get to First Avenue by the end of the year, although it is likely that some construction will spill over into 2024. Another project that's out there is the chlorine feeder system upgrade. This is up at the water plant. This project has been bid. We have not yet started construction. We're facing some lead times on equipment, so there'll be a little bit of a delay in actually getting started with construction, but anticipate that will occur this year and be completed by this fall. Similar situation for the influent rake and screen replacement. This one actually has started construction, but there's been some lead time delays for equipment for that one as well. This would be expected to be completed again this year. And then finally, on the ongoing list, the Muscatine Avenue pedestrian crossing. This is there by the Hy-Vee off of Muscatine Avenue. The plan would be to include bus shelter at the bus stop there, some curb ramp improvements, as well as pedestrian island on Muscatine Avenue. This is one that you may remember that we were looking at using conductive concrete, which came out of a research project out of Iowa State University. So the design is more or less complete. Right now, we're working through permitting issues and trying to figure out how this can be done through the electrical code. With it coming out of a research project, this isn't hasn't been written yet. And so, it's not a typical thing, and so we're kind of working through that process of how do we get the specifications written such that this then can be approved in a quicker manner for future projects, but having to be the first one takes a little bit more time. So that is it for the ongoing section. I don't know if there's any questions now, or we can move on to annual projects.
I just want to make point that the sidewalk or the concrete that you were just referring to, that'd melt snow and all that stuff. Is that correct?
Yes, so it basically allows for it to be heated through electrical current.
Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
All right, so for the annual projects, we'll start off with the fiber infill and camera.
So this is a project we've had in the past. We had taken it away, and now we put it back. We've always had money set aside for fiber infill. We had it in a CIP project. We put it into operations. But what we found is there's some years where we won't need it at all, and then the next year we'll need, twice of what we have budgeted in operations. So this was just kind of a way to save up some of that money, so when these projects happen, because they're typically unplanned, right? They come up that we don't know about. So this money will just be set aside to help with any fiber infill or any cameras that come up unexpectedly or need to be replaced.
All right, I'll take over first. The park projects, Julie Seidel Johnson, Parks and Recreation Director. The first one we have up is our park annual improvements. We use this for small projects throughout the parks. All the new park signs that we've been systematically placing throughout the system, along with park benches, grills, bicycle racks, those type of things, and then small partner projects. For instance, if one of the sport associations approaches us for a new scoreboard or something like that, it typically comes out of this fund. The next one is our park ADA improvements. This addresses items that were outlined in our 2016 Parks Master Plan, and we've systematically gone through the park and added paved sidewalks or paved paths to get to the shelters, restrooms, playgrounds. And the good news is we're getting close. We'll be doing some paving by Rita's Ranch for the off-leash dog park next, but we've done a lot of the small connections throughout the park system, and we continue to do that with each one of our renovation projects. So our access level has increased dramatically over the last 5 years. The next one is climate action facility improvements. This is a new one last year that addresses issues throughout our aging facilities, things like HVAC or building automation systems that can lead to better efficiency in our heating and cooling. Small solar projects could be done with this, windows, insulated windows, lighting, what I like to call mouse-proofing the outside of buildings so that we have a more protective envelope. All of those projects can be taken out of this climate action fund. Intercity bicycle and trails. This one increases slightly this year. We have a number of small bridges throughout the system. If you've been out on our trails, we have small wooden bridges, a lot of them placed about 20, 25 years ago, and they are nearing the end of their life where we need to start replacing those. So this fund has a little bit more so we can start addressing those bridge connections over the next few years. Then we have our annual rec center improvements. These are smaller improvements throughout both Robert A. Lee and the Mercer Scanlon Rec Center. The next project you'll see on this is the entryway at Mercer. If you've been there, it's kind of a bumpy ride to get in the sidewalk and into the front doors. So we'll be replacing the sidewalk for better ADA access, less paving, more landscaping, prettier entrance, but also a better driving experience. We'll replace some of the sidewalk or some of the driveway in front of it as well. Robert A. Lee will eventually have new indoor signage, ceiling tiles, the flooring tiles. Those are the kind of replacement things that we do out of this fund. The next one is annual tree planting. This is where we've been planting over 1,000 trees per year for the last several years. These are neighborhood infill projects. The next one will be in the South District, and actually the door hangers notifying people that they'll be getting trees next planting season went out last week. So we are excited to continue with that.
Next up is the annual stormwater improvements. So this is a fund that we use to make repairs to the stormwater system, So that would include things like intakes or storm sewer, manholes, that kind of thing that come up from time to time. Usually those show up as sinkholes in various locations, but this is a fund that's used, again, to address those issues as they come up. Next up is the annual traffic signal projects. So this is an annual fund that would fund signal replacements. It also can fund equipment replacements or upgrades, whether that be traffic signal controllers, traffic cameras, that kind of thing at our traffic signals. Traffic calming, so this is to install, in a lot of cases, speed humps in locations that make or work their way through the traffic calming process that is headed up through our MPO. Again, this could be other types of measures. We've used this for radar feedback signs in the past, but again, typically it would be for our speed humps in neighborhoods.
Is there a reason it jumped up so high this time around, or?
I think it had to do probably with the number of locations that we've had. We've seen more interest in this program, so there's been more locations each year that have needed this. The other thing that is out there is, originally we had looked at installation costs. Now they've been around long enough that we're having to look at maintenance costs as well.
Thank you.
Do you know approximately how many locations have increased this year versus years past?
I don't know.
Yeah, hi, Kent Ralston, Transportation Planner. I don't have an exact number because of the way the process works, but we did 3 last year, 3 different stretches of street, and this next year I think we'll have at least that, if not more. So there's been some years where we have 1 or 2, some years 4 or 5, but it overall has been sort of trending upward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our curb ramp ADA project, so this is one that we use every year. We go out and we find locations where we have curb ramps that are not ADA compliant, or we have no curb ramps at all. And so this project looks to select some of those facilities and upgrade curb ramps in those locations. Our priorities are, first are those locations that have no curb ramps, and then we kind of work our way down the priority list of ones that are too steep or whatever that might be. But our first priority is still putting curb ramps in locations that don't have them. Our annual pavement rehabilitation program, so this is our asphalt overlay program, also includes PCC patching and other maintenance activities on various locations throughout the city. The underground electrical facilities, this is the fund that we use for helping to relocate electrical and telecommunication lines underground. Typically, we use this money in conjunction with other projects. So a lot of times our reconstruction projects will have utilities put those lines underground. Typically, that cost is to the city is basically the delta of relocating those facilities to another aerial location versus what it costs to put them underground. And so we pay kind of the additional cost to put them underground in those corridors. Next up is the bicycle master plan implementation. So this is a money that's available every year to go through and make the improvements that were included in the bicycle master plan. Those can be things such as 4-lane to 3-lane conversions. It can be restriping for bike lanes, installation of bike boulevards, that type of thing. The annual bridge maintenance and repair account, like it says, this would be for repairs of bridges. This typically does not include, bridge replacements. It would be more the minor repairs and maintenance projects that are out there for existing bridges. Next up is the annual sewer main replacement fund. This is what we use for making spot repairs for sanitary sewer pipes, manholes, that type of thing. It also includes our sewer and manhole lining projects that we do every year.
All right. Good afternoon, Council. Darian Nagel-Gam, Director of Transportation. 2 items to share with you really quick in terms of our annual projects. The first is parking facility restoration and repair. We discussed this a little bit, at least on Saturday. But due to the age of our facilities and just to make sure that we are performing the preventative maintenance properly on our facilities to make them last, every 5 years we develop a new plan where we bring in a team to comprehensively review all of our facilities, let us know what repairs need to be done and what preventative maintenance strategies we should do, and then we lay out a 5-year plan. So this funding is used to help execute on that 5-year plan to make sure that all of our downtown parking structures can last a very long time. And the final annual project is the transit interchange and bus stop improvements. So this funding is being designated towards improving all of our bus stops around the community. This was something that was identified as a priority in our transit study that we recently went through. This funding will be used to preliminarily bring a team on board to help us develop concepts and plans for improving all of our transit stops. And that could mean anything from, bringing things up to current ADA standards, lighting, signage, infotainment. There's a variety of ways we can improve our transit stops to make transit more attractive, safe, and comfortable for the community. And this funding source will be used to help facilitate that planning process and then to develop a plan for basically annual improvements to our transit stops. Ideally, we would like to be able to move throughout the community route by route over the upcoming years after the plan is developed and help improve the bus stops across the community.
Darian, a question about this. Do I recall correctly that with the study and then the implementation of the new routes that we paused some of the improvements on stops for some period of time?
Yeah, I would say yes. We were in the process. We were sort of simultaneously at least installing transit shelters at some locations, and we had been ordering shelters kind of on a ad hoc basis and making some determinations of where we should be, and then we realized we really need to do a comprehensive overall review of the entire system. It really makes the most sense to kind of evaluate the entire system at one time, so that's where the pause came in. So we're kind of in that pause period right now, and the next step for us is to really get a plan rolling that's going to guide our decision making. Then we can I think most efficiently execute on those investments across the community.
Did you consider kind of front loading that, like since we've had a pause and then we have a plan, maybe trying to be more aggressive in the beginning years? And it just seems to me that might provide better service and get those.
We can absolutely look at that, and honestly, we would love to be able to do this as soon as we can, because we definitely see the need, and we heard it loud and clear from the community. So it's just a matter of getting I think a team on board who can help us develop that plan, and then getting a team on board who can help us make those adjustments to the infrastructure as soon as possible. So.
One thing I've been observing as I go through town is, some of the stops, and I don't know how many are planned for shelters, but can look somewhat forlorn. There's just, I see someone sort of standing out along the street without any kind of, other than the bus sign itself, indication that it's a bus stop. And I just think of the weather, through the seasons. So, where we don't have a bus stop planned, consider planting some trees to help kind of mitigate that, that condition. Because, when I see people, waiting is not easy, waiting for a bus, and especially when it's hot and muggy outside. So if just, it's better than nothing. A shelter would be great, but, I'm not expecting we would have shelters at every bus stop. So where we can fit a tree, I think that would provide some, improvement to the experience.
Is there coordination with the street tree planting and locations of bus stops at all? Maybe that's something that we could look at, yeah?
We don't specifically go out to the bus stops, but when they're within the neighborhoods where we're targeting our plantings, we certainly have the trees planted in those areas. I mean, so we are covering them systematically as we do each of the different neighborhoods.
This is a very basic. Over the next 5 years or so, as you're looking ahead, whether front-loaded or not, this money is both going for the consultancy and the planning and the execution, correct?
That's correct. Yes, it would be planning. It would be hopefully bringing on a contractor team to help us execute as quickly as possible on that vision that we create. But yes, it would be both planning and execution and infrastructure improvements.
Mayor, since I interrupted the flow, I wonder if it's okay if I just ask like a really overarching question here, maybe for Nicole. So all of these plans so far have showed the 5 years all being equal amounts, as far as I've noticed. And so effectively with inflation, and costs of materials and things, that just means that we're effectively able to do less in each successive year. So how do we account for that?
So I would tell you with most of these, like there may be $75,000 this year, but chances are they're spending 25 or 50, right? A lot of these annual ones are kind of banking funds to use. So it's not strict. So in theory, yes, if they spend it equally every year, but that's typically not what we see with these annual projects. There's usually some buildup to then do these certain things that need to happen. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, the other thing I would add is when we do increase these amounts, Julie had mentioned the park trail amount being increased this year. We typically just increase them across all years when we do that. So you may not see a $5,000 or a $10,000 increase every year, but what will happen is it may stay at $75,000 in this example for 2 or 3 years, and then once we start to deplete some of that project fund balance, we'll kick it up to 100 or whatever it needs to be.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to airport projects.
All right, good afternoon. I think most of my projects are in order based on the project number. So if you want the summary outlook, it's on page 517. If you want the detailed list, those projects start on 537. With the airport, all of our projects are dependent on grant funding of some kind. We either get grant funding from the FAA or from the Iowa DOT. When the FAA participates in a project, they pay for 90% of the project. When the Iowa DOT participates in a project, it's anywhere from 50 to 85% of the project. And if we do not, for some reason, get the grants in a given year that we're expecting them, everything just slides. So that being said, we also have introduced with the bipartisan infrastructure law that was signed now, a year and a half ago, 5 years of additional allocation to airports that we are able to utilize, and we are utilizing some of that money for things we hadn't anticipated, like the terminal building study. What we're doing with that, and I'll touch briefly on it, is that law established both funding for terminal buildings as well as supplemental funding for airports that's allocated directly. Because of that, we're taking a look at our terminal building that is a 1951 vintage building and comes with all of those 1951 vintage issues. So environmental capacity, all of those fun things are things that need addressed and have needed addressed for some time for the airport. And this hopefully is giving us an avenue to address some of those things. Along with that infrastructure law money is what we're using for our solar power project, which was mentioned at the budget meeting on Saturday. That project and that plan is not in the book at this point. I think we had the details put together a little too late for publication, but the goal of that is to take the runway lighting, terminal building, and a couple other major users of the airport and get all of those uses on solar power. And that's going to be a process that is happening over the next couple of years. So with that being kind of the setup, as we look at these projects, a lot of these are linked with phases, and starting at 3465, the Runway 7 environmental assessment. This project and then the extension is something that comes from our FAA master plan, and the goal of it is part of the overall runway 725 category change to get both ends of the runway up to 5,000-foot landing distance. The 5,000-foot number is a kind of a magic number in terms of charter operators, insurance companies, and general aviation because it allows those business jets, especially when we have what's called contaminated conditions. So if the runway is wet or if we have snow on the runway or something like that, it still allows those aircraft to make the calculations to use our runways. Following that, the runway 1230 threshold displacement. This is our last phase of a multi-year obstruction mitigation project that's been going on over 2019, 2020. Those 2 seasons, we spent a good couple of winters going into neighborhoods, kind of cleaning up our approach paths, which unfortunately called for removing trees from certain areas. As part of that program, we did offer tree replacements for any trees we did take down, so the neighbors did have access to replacements or anything like that. But this one, on the 12 end, it's going to displace the threshold by about 500 feet and add some concrete on the 30 end, so it's effectively shifting the runway and the runway safety zones away from the northwest neighborhood. The airport apron expansion, one of those side effects of the work we've done is we've seen some larger airplanes. We've seen more airplanes, which is great. That's how we're able to run an operations budget that's self-sufficient. But that also means we need more space for parking airplanes. And this is a project that does that. The FAA has a formula based on activity for allowable parking space that they participate in, and it gets us up to that number of square footage. Runway 725 pavement repairs, and the next project, runway 1230 pavement repairs. That's a more detailed pavement maintenance program. That's crack sealing, joint repair, some panel replacement for concrete that might be broken or otherwise damaged, and that's preserving the life of both of our runways. Runway 725 was reconstructed in 2008. 1230 was reconstructed in roughly 2010. So both of those pavements are now over 10 years old and typically have a design life of 20 years, but this should get us, another several years after that. Airport wayfinding, this is one of those signs, again, with the operators we have. We do get occasions where people are coming into the airport kind of looking for certain specific facilities like the research lab, our flight training school, carry ambulance. So this will add some signage around the airport inside the terminal building for specific room uses and allow for people to self-navigate themselves to where they need to be. Terminal building remodel reconstruction. That one is the major one. So again, part of that building infrastructure law money between fiscal year 2022 and 2027, there's $1 billion a year that's allocated to the FAA specifically for general aviation terminal improvements, replacements. It's a competitive program. That space study is setting us up to go after some of that money and try to either, we're at the moment we're looking at all options, whether it's a remodel, replacement, but that is to help address those capacity needs. For example, right now we have 6 flight instructors that share a single office. So being able to train students, have instructors have their own office where they can keep files, and even being able to grow businesses. Like we have a desire, obviously, to have additional aviation services at the airport. We don't have anywhere to put them if they wanted to be there. So that becomes a blockage of being able to improve the airport and provide the services that aviation needs that benefits not only the airport but the community as a whole. Airport terminal building rehab. This is a smaller project just for the current facility. If you look at that big white block, that is actually where back in the days of the commercial airline service at the airport, that was the luggage and baggage hole in the building where you would check in your baggage. It slides through on the little conveyor belt out to the airplanes. Right now it's just covered with basically plywood and some other material. Not exactly friendly for keeping the building warm in the winter, cool in the summer. So we're going to take that out and put in some other material to help buoy that as we're looking at the space study and doing improvements and get a little bit better efficiency on our heating and cooling systems.
Can I ask a
And then the
question?
last one on our list is that space needs study again, as I referred to. It's taking a look at the building, the terminal building as a whole, as well as the entrance drive and connections to how people are getting to the airport, where people are parking, the terminal building, and giving us options for that bipartisan infrastructure law funding so that we can go after that.
I have a question about the two. One of them is the remodel repair, and then the associated with the plywood. Given that this building is from 1953 and there are just not that many airports that are like this anymore, is the historicity of the building also being looked at, or does that not come into play in terms of its historic?
So
I recognize-
the building is certainly eligible for being listed as a historic structure. It's not currently on any lists. As we are looking at the possible options for how to expand capacity, how to be able to house more people, we are considering that. That is part of the consideration on, especially if we're going to do remodels or something like that. Even if it comes to the point where replacement is the best option, is how can we preserve the legacy of the building and going forward. And that would be part of any consideration for any or any reconstruction as well, to try to incorporate that.
Yeah, no, and certainly I recognize there's a tension because it's very difficult to work in a modern capacity and with old equipment in an old building. But just to have that understanding that the two are together, that's great. Thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions.
Oh,
go ahead.
somebody had a question? Oh. I just wanted to make a quick comment to compliment you on the mitigation study. I think I've told you this before, too. I live on the west side, very close to the airport, and I've talked to several of the residents that live there and have had to lose their trees, and it's not easy. John's a proponent of trees, I'm a proponent of trees, and you had a tree in your yard that's 25, 30 years old. But every one of the persons that I talked to complimented the folks that came, that they were courteous, they were professional, and they were helpful. And of course, I'm all for funding the replacement of trees and putting something in there that's not going to grow, 100, 200 feet tall and be in the way of the airplane. So I compliment you on how that was handled.
Well, appreciate that. Thank you.
I have just a quick informational. Sorry, you can't tell with the masks on. It's a little bit like ventriloquism up here. The numbering scheme, 725 and 1230 for the airports, what's the logic behind how those are named?
It's the compass heading that you're flying.
Gotcha.
So it's to the nearest 10 degrees of the compass heading.
Okay, I just figured it'd be something like that. I was just curious. Thanks.
All right, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to fire.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Scott Lyon, Fire Chief, here to talk about the items that we have in our proposed CIP. The first one is the fire apparatus replacement. In 2023, we're asking for $3.3 million to replace 3 frontline fire trucks. They're from 2011. That'd be engines 1, 3, and 4, and place those in reserve status. The anticipated build time for these units is 34 months. And it's something that I've never seen in my career in 26 years, that it takes that long to build a fire truck. But unfortunately, it's part of the supply chain issues that we're seeing all the way around. To compound the issue, last year, fire apparatus construction costs increased by 21%. And it's anticipated that the fire apparatus manufacturers will be moving forward with quarterly price increases. So that's not a real rosy picture with fire trucks, but that is where we're at. So when we combine our lead time, the price increases that we will see with a later order date, and the condition of the current units that we're talking about, this was supported by the superintendent of equipment as well. That's where we're at. As an example, today, Engine 3 is nearing 100,000 miles, and certainly the components are being worn out. Many times on fire trucks, it's not necessarily the miles. The miles don't help, but it is the overall usage of the unit. So that is the first item. In 2026, you see a little over 1.5 million. That would be for the replacement of Quint 2, which is a ladder truck that has other features. It has a pump, it has a tank, water, ground ladders, and an aerial device. That's scheduled out to 2026 at that $1.5 million mark in today's numbers, which most likely will increase between now and then.
Chief, can I just ask a question about apparatus? I think I raised it on Saturday, but the option of smaller vehicles, more nimble vehicles for certain types of calls. And just in answering that, what are the fuel options for fire trucks? Are they going to make electric ones at any point?
You bet. A couple of things. The smaller, more nimble vehicles in general is where the Iowa City Fire Department is heading. Prior to my arrival here, Engine 2 out on the west side is a dramatically different engine than the rest of them. It's much shorter, it's more compact, and it's more nimble to be used on our city streets. Alternative vehicles, I think we talked about a little bit on Saturday, of smaller vehicles, a squad type or a light pickup truck style unit. Those are possibilities once staffing stabilizes. So those are out there. The big question, electric fire trucks, they're out there. Right now, the cost of an electric fire truck is roughly 2.5 times that of a diesel-powered fire truck. Hopefully, as time goes by, the cost begins to go down on those. But right now, you could certainly multiply the ask by 2.5 times. So the city of Madison does have one in Wisconsin.
Would you need different facilities to be able to house it? I mean, I know that that's been a discussion, or, that our buses have needed, for height.
Structure, yeah.
The physical package is about the same on the electrical fire truck. The real associated cost is the upgrading for the recharging of the vehicles.
Are there,
Okay. Are there any major differences between, carrying capacity, either, from water or equipment between, the older, larger vehicles and the newer, smaller, more nimble ones that we're moving toward?
No, I don't believe so. I think the modern fire apparatus have been designed truly to maximize the usable space in the truck, and there is very little dead space, as it were, on the truck.
I was just going to ask, and maybe this goes back to our consolidated grants position that we don't have, but is there an opportunity for any grants or subsidies for moving to a different kind of equipment?
Not necessarily moving to different types of equipment, but for fire apparatus in general, there is the Assistance of Firefighters Grant, AFG grant, that is out there, which is something that we could certainly pursue into the future. Yes, absolutely. There is a match. I want to say 10% is the match on that.
I was just thinking the electric buses were a lot more expensive than the diesel buses, and we got a lot of funding assistance for that. So.
Right. One of the things that's out there with the electric fire trucks is to see how they perform in very adverse weather conditions for extended periods of time. It's not uncommon to be out when it's really cold outside for 7, 8, 9 hours at a shot. So it's kind of an emerging technology right now. Any other questions? The second item we have pulled up is the replacement of Fire Station 3, reconstruction to 3, and construction of Station 5. You can see here that the total project cost is $10 million. Planning phase at $500,000 in '26, and the remainder in '27. These prices, again, are in today's numbers. Station 3 itself is an outdated facility, and space is completely utilized at this point. The lieutenant's office is also serving as a furnace room at this point, so we're just jam-packed into that building. The additional fire station will certainly help with response times on the east side of the community and help us achieve our effective response force to building fires, which is how many people do we need to get on scene within a certain amount of time. And our goal is 16 members on scene within 10 minutes and 24 seconds. And the fire station on the east side of town will certainly help us achieve that goal. The Fire Station 2 roof replacement. It's the original roof, I believe, from the construction of the building. And the long and the short of it is the roof leaks. And it's caused some issues on the inside of the building, various missing tiles, so on and so forth. And the proposed cost is $110,000. And then lastly, we have the carpet and tile flooring replacement here at Fire Station 1. And there's a picture. I would imagine you can see the same thing, that our carpet is truly reached the end of its useful life, and we could really use some carpet. So that is what I have for you. Questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, next we'll move on to library.
Good afternoon. The library has two projects on the schedule between now and 2027. The first is probably familiar to anyone who's not new, the carpet and furnishing replacement. That project was submitted by Susan Craig before she left and has shifted forward a few times, most recently because of supply chain issues during COVID-19. This will be a multi-year project replacing carpeting and some furnishings in some of the large areas of the library. Most of the items that would be touched in this project would be original to the building, which opened in 2004, so we're nearing that 19-20 year mark. Obviously, the building is a highly trafficked space, and things have just worn out. I think the fact that they have been maintained and usable for so long is a real testament to the choices made in the beginning and the maintenance that's done on a daily basis. But it's just time to do this. At this point, we're certainly able to get through to the project dates. My fear would be if these were shifted forward again, we may tip over sort of the critical replacement issues and go into some safety concerns. But right now, it's mostly to refresh and to replace and continue to be accessible and welcoming. Our second project is a much smaller project. This is sort of a refresh of two of our higher used second floor meeting spaces, the boardroom and meeting room E. Those meeting rooms are both used heavily. Boardroom is used very heavily internally as a staff space. That's where obviously our board meets, but also we do orientations, trainings, lots of staff work happens there. Meeting room E is one of our sort of second biggest sets of public meeting rooms. Nothing in either of these rooms has been updated since the building opened beyond very basic IT and technology updates. So one of the things we want to make sure to do in E, which is used more often by public groups, is really update that technology so that hearing augmentation loops and other adaptive devices can be used sort of seamlessly. With this project, we recently did some community focus groups leading up to our strategic plan work. So I had a chance to go through community surveys from the beginning of this building, and every iteration of community feedback we get talks about the significance of having access to free and accessible public meeting spaces, especially in those evening and weekend hours. So I do think this is a well-used community amenity, and anticipate it will continue to be used, and that the community will be thankful for sort of a lift of updating technology, but also paint and some of the furnishings.
There's no questions. Move on to Senior Center.
Good afternoon. My name is Latasha Deloach. I'm the Senior Center Coordinator. We have two projects. One is the Senior Center facility exterior improvements, and I'll have Julie talk a little bit about that.
So I'll talk about the first project, Julie Seidel Johnson, Parks and Rec Director. As part of our projects, as part of our Government's Buildings Division. And we have good news and neutral news for you on this one. We have our preliminary design work done. We'll get a final report on that tomorrow. And the good news is it didn't come up with any large surprises that we weren't aware of, which with a historic building like this, you just never know. And we're happy to report that it's looking pretty good for where we're at. The neutral news is it's going to take every penny we have budgeted to get the work done. What this does is look at the outside exterior of the building, masonry work, moisture proofing it so that we keep the water out, make it more efficient on the inside with the windows and roof repairs. So it's all needed things, no matter what the future use of the building is, to keep the building intact, keep its historic nature, and keep it functioning. So it would be bid later this spring with work over summer and fall.
And our second project is the improvements in the interior, and so some of that is historic as well as some of that is just not a part of the historic part of the building that we need to update and upgrade, as well as some interior things like HVAC, et cetera. So our hope is that once we have a confirmed response from our survey, that we'll be able to move forward with start looking at design and what that looks like down the line with getting bids and construction. So things are moving forward. So we're excited about that, but we're just pausing on moving forward with this piece until we have a final answer from those surveys. Questions? No?
Not about this, but those surveys just came in, so how's that process going? I assume it'll take a little while to compile.
It's taken us, a lot of them are manual, so we have to input them. So we have about 4 staff and a couple students helping us get them in as quickly as we can. So we hope to have a meeting, I think it's like next Tuesday, to have the UI. We'll have been able to compile the ones that came online as well as those and give us some preliminary answers. So hopefully we'll get a memo to you all as soon as we have some more information that's solid from that.
Great, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
All right, next we'll move on to Parks.
I do feel like I'm playing musical chairs, just want to say. Okay, lots of park projects to talk about. The first one actually is here at City Hall, though, once again, part of our government buildings projects. These are other projects, larger projects needed to keep City Hall operational. The big one's coming up as a roof replacement first, and then the lower level restrooms will get an ADA remodel, and then east ramp, outdoor east ramp improvements for that entrance into the building. So trying to keep an older building as operational as possible as we go forward. The next one is ecological restoration at Hickory Hill Park. Excited because this is one that wasn't in here till recently because this is a $200,000 REAP, Resource Enhancement and Protection Grant from the Iowa DNR. Sixth time in my 7 years here that we've received this grant for ecological restoration throughout the city, especially at Hickory Hill Park. I remember that when I first got here, it seemed overwhelming trying to get this park, the invasive species out and make it what it could be as far as being a forest preserve. And over this time, both through our grants and through our CIP projects, we've made tremendous progress there along with the Friends of Hickory Hill Park. So fun to talk about that one. The next project is a trail at Highway 6, Broadway to Fair Meadows. This is a trail infill scheduled for 2026. And our big one, City Park pool replacement. We are budgeting more than what you saw last year, asking for a little over $10 million for this one. Doing our research as part of the Rec Facilities and Program Master Plan led to the realization that similar pools being built in the Midwest required this type of budget. This is probably on the slim side, and depending on how much we do with the bathhouse and that sort of thing, this could be a lean budget for that. The timeline for this, though, is that this spring we'll start consultant selection to go out and get a new designer and consultant that will do a complete public input process, re-evaluate the engineering studies of the current pool, do a public input process, probably a statistically valid survey, work towards consensus for what the final design and would be. And then the targeting bid would be early summer 2024 with construction over this 2025 season. So you would expect the pool to be completely closed in 2025. Potentially also the shoulder seasons of the end of 2024 and maybe the beginning of 2026, just depending on so many things that happen with larger construction projects. But the opening the new pool at this schedule would be in 2026. Lots to still be determined, but that's where we're at as far as a request for where City Park Pool stands. The next one is a smaller project. We have 2 parcels of land that we will be receiving soon as development is completed around them. One is in the Palisades subdivision, kind of in the northern part of the community. We will have to think of a new park name for this one because people are already confused with Palisades State Park versus City Park. So if you have great ideas for a new park name, let me know because we're stumped. Or Stonebridge, which is a little bit further east, but on the north side. And one of those 2 will come up first and will be kind of a small playground shelter, just a nice little pocket park, either one of them. The next one is our rec center improvements, and this is the priorities of this have changed somewhat since we've had the rec program and facilities master plan. The roof replacements are now the top priority at both Robert A. Lee and Mercer. So getting the roof replaced, once again, looking at how to keep moisture out of the buildings, keep them in the best condition that we can for their age. And then the full renovation of the Robert A. Lee filter room for the pool has fallen back in the process. As you know, we decided that we would wait until City Park Pool was done and gauge our attendance for the next couple years before any large decision is made. So we will do our best to keep it running and to keep remedial repairs happening so that it can operate. But that has fallen back in this particular budget CIP project line. The next one is Lower City Park, and this looks at continuing the plans from the Lower City Park Master Plan of 2016. We've been gradually moving things out of the floodway, moving them up towards the higher ground and the hillside. This looks at replacing or consolidating some of the shelters and the restrooms. So we want to now renovate the red brick restroom, which is by the new playground area. Historically significant building is it's the last one left from when it was a zoo out there, an actual zoo in the park, if you didn't know that. So we would renovate that and then probably do away with what's called the gray brick restroom there. And red brick is heated, so it is available year-round, and we would continue to do that with that project. Kiwanis Park Playground design is nearly completed. We've had 2 neighborhood meetings. This looks at renovating the nature play area in Kiwanis Park. I had a lot of neighborhood involvement in this one, and the Parks Commission will be looking at the playground design tonight at their commission meeting. It will be coming to you next month as we get ready to go out to bid on this project. Renovations of Napoleon softball fields. This one has been kind of a ping pong in the CIP process. It was originally scheduled in 2022. It's gone back and forth, and now it's sitting in 2026. We feel like it can wait, but at some point we will have to address this. This is a rebuild of the softball fields. We've done fields 1 through 4. This would be continuing that. It's just something that's a good idea to continue to keep them safe and playable into the future. Upper City Park improvements will be done in tandem with City Park Pool. The thought here is that the restrooms that are in Upper City Park right now will become part of the pool bathhouse structure, still available to the public at all times, but connected to the building so that we have fewer structures and mechanical things happening in the park. Same with probably having an indoor shelter space within the pool bathhouse and consolidating a couple of the shelters out in the park into 1 or 2 different ones that are there. Probably similar locations, though. So it'll be kind of a master planning process happening along with the pool project for all of Upper City Park in that area. Hickory Hill Park, Conklin Street entrance. This is a project that we've asked to be moved forward to this year. It's once again kind of moved around in the CIP. It was originally in the Park Master Plan as a 2021 project. It's gone back as far as 2025, but it appeared that we could squeeze it in on funding this year. So what we'll be doing with this project is replacing the Conklin Street restroom and shelter. Right now, it's a combined restroom and shelter in that location, similar to what had been at a number of our other parks. It is aged quite a bit. The structure is not as sound as it should be. So this replaces it with a standalone shelter in this similar location to where the shelter is now, but moves the restroom down closer to the parking lot. And we think this will provide better access for people who are coming just to walk in the park, not necessarily using the shelter. We know that it's not always the same groups who need to use the restroom as are using the park shelter, so this will separate that. It also allows for the restroom to have a storage room, workroom for the Friends of Hickory Hill. They have certain equipment that they keep stored at the park for the volunteer efforts, which are extremely helpful. So that will also be presented to the Parks Commission tonight for their recommendation. Happy Hollow Playground and ball field renovations, another project that has been moved forward. It was originally, though, in the master plan for 2023, which is ironically where it's going to land now, had been pushed back, but then due to the amount of input from the neighbors wanting the ball field to be renovated, we've moved it back, or suggested it's moved back to 2023. This will be a playground replacement. It's pretty landlocked into where the playground will go, and then ADA path improvements, which will add access to the both the ball diamond and the basketball court. And then, of course, the redoing the diamond into an ag lime field. The Parks Commission will look at part of this project tonight. The playground we're still getting more input and more design ideas on the playground, so that will become a park staff installation and in-house installation next fall. But tonight, the Parks Commission will look at the pathways and the ball diamond renovations as part of their 2023 projects. Next, we have Terrell Mill Skate Park and hopefully Pump Track. This one is a little bit up in the air right now, too, because we're waiting on word from the state of Iowa on, and maybe Jeff can help me with the name of the grant, the
Destination Iowa.
Destination Iowa grant. If we get the Destination Iowa grant funds, this would be a much larger project. If we don't get it, we still have about $300,000 in city funds earmarked for it, but that would change the scope and probably the timing of it. So we're anxiously waiting, hearing about that grant, about how much we'll be able to do for that project. Mercer Ball Fields is renovations of the baseball fields complex near Mercer, at Mercer Park. Largely what will happen with this project is you can see one field doesn't match the other. Field number 4, it has a weird layout. It's been problematic since pretty much the start of when this was constructed. So it will rotate that field. Also do some ADA path work to the public areas and do some of the lighting renovations. We've got an older lighting system on the fields. We will be combining this with the pickleball tennis courts. As you can see, they're right next to that. So that project comes up later, but this will include renovation of those. And we meet with the consultants for that project tomorrow, and have stakeholder meetings with both the Youth Association baseball groups, the school district, and then the pickleball players. Yay. So we'll have a fun afternoon talking with everyone and come back with designs to the Parks Commission at their February meeting for this project. Did I mention that our park staff has built their own pickleball court within the park shop for practice? So it is taking off. Yeah, they have their own little thing going on that, just during break times and lunch, though. All right, Hunter's Run is another one of our 2023 projects. This was actually slated for 2023 in the 2016 master plan, and this will replace the park playground and add a small shelter to that park. One of the older playgrounds, and it was kind of a two-part playground, so part of it is probably the oldest playground we had, and the other one was kind of a mid-range part, but this will replace it in the similar area. We've had a neighborhood meeting that we got a lot of good input and online forums for that, and once again, the Parks Commission will review this tonight at their meeting and give you a recommendation on the playground choice and design. Next project is our event facility improvements, and the one this will focus on, although the picture right now is of Terry Trueblood Lodge, this one for next year is actually focusing on the Riverside Festival stage at City Park, and it's also has to do with this grant that we're hoping to get. We have some funding in city funds to do some remedial repairs, and there's some things that need to be done very quickly for the Crow's Nest and some of the operational safety issues at the stage. But the bigger dream, we've been working with Riverside Theater for some larger renovations that will make it much easier and better for their productions. And if we can get the grant, that would be an $800,000 project. Waiting on that. The next few are future year projects that follow the master plan pretty closely. Benton Hill Playground replacement, the master plan had it for 2025, and we're recommending it now for 2026. College Green is the next one. College Green Park, also one of the older playgrounds that we have. The master plan had it for 2025, and we're asking for that in 2026, so a few years out. Willow Creek Trail replacement is happening this spring. This particular part of the trail had a lot of tree roots that had grown up. It made it a very kind of dangerous situation, so this will be replacing it. We've taken out some trees. We've had a lot of diseased trees along there too, so gotten rid of some of the trees, and then the trail will be rebuilt and hopefully stay more usable for a number of years. It'll be replaced with a concrete trail. It was asphalt before. The next one is smaller repairs to our elevator systems in the Senior Center, City Hall, and Robert A. Lee Rec Center. These will be for visual and audio cues to the elevators to make them more accessible for people with disabilities. North Market Square comes up in the master plan of 2024, but this is, we're asking for it in 2026. It is a fairly new playground, but it's so well used with its location right next to the elementary school that we feel like by 2026, 2026, it will need to be replaced. Reno Street Park is slated also for 2026. This is one of the last parks that needs significant ADA improvements in the path work. The reason it's not in the smaller park ADA project is because it's well above the $30,000 cap of that project. It's going to take the larger park renovation to get up over the small hill from the street and get pathways to everything. So that one's scheduled for 2026. The next one is the pickleball and tennis court renovations. As I mentioned, this is part of the Mercer baseball field project. It does also include City Park tennis courts, and that's more of a fencing issue and resurfacing, probably adding practice boards there. So less comprehensive repairs at City Park as compared to what's needed at the Mercer pickleball and tennis courts.
At the Mercer parks, are you going to be able to address sort of some of that water damage that's underneath?
Most likely it's going to be a complete rebuild there from foundation up. We'll know more tomorrow, but more than likely. Thanks. Okay, our next one starts talking about a new park on the far west side. This is in terms with the Carson Lake development. This is some funding for land acquisition, partially for the stormwater management to start with. There's two items related to this. There's this, and then there's actual construction of the stormwater management further down in the projects. The next project is a small boat ramp or kayak launch access at Waterworks Prairie Park. This one is contingent on this same Vision Iowa, or Destination Iowa grant. And if we receive the grant, that's where the funding is for this one. Calder Park is another park that does not currently have ADA access down to the playground and shelter. As you can see, the entrance to it is up high, and then you come down a great sledding hill to get to the playground and the shelter, but there is not currently a paved access path. Well, with this park and the new development that's happening by Rochester and Scott, we're able to add a new trail that will connect the new development to the park, but at the same time bring that entire trail up the side of the hillside finally and achieve our ADA access for this playground and shelter and fire pit. So that's exciting. Court Hill Trail, this is a small section of trail that starts at Beach Street and goes along the creek up to Scott Park. Once again, it's a small portion of asphalt trail. If you go out there, it's got a numerous tree limbs or tree roots and whatnot coming up through it. So this would be a safety concern that we want to address. The next one is off-leash dog park improvements, so both Rita's Ranch and Thornberry in 2027, looking at some fencing replacements and also replacement of some of the paved trails. Thornberry, there's been some ongoing long-term water issues kind of in the middle section. We would hope to get that graded and get that fixed, and then add a small walking trail around the outside of the Rita's Ranch, or inside the fence, but along the fence line of Rita's Ranch. We get that request a lot. Sturgis Ferry is an exciting one. It's a boat ramp down by the airport. It actually gets quite a bit of use. If you went out and looked at it, it's not in the best shape at all. So it's exciting that we're going to be able to renovate that. It's in conjunction with adding a recycling center for the solid waste folks. And it'll give us a small parking lot, shelter, and a restroom enclosure. Not an actual restroom, but a portable restroom enclosure at that facility. Mercer Park shelter replacement. This is a small shelter, or the smaller shelter next to the playground. Large playground, lots of shelter use. Unfortunately, a favorite of vandals and other things happening last year. So that moved this up on our priority list to look at replacement down in a few years. That would just replace the shelter with a similar shelter in the same location. 4401 is Park Storage Building. This is an additional storage area to house our parks maintenance equipment during all weather conditions. Currently, several pieces are either outside throughout all weather conditions, or they are at random locations throughout the entire city. Sometimes we have to play where's the equipment when we need it. So we'd really like to get it's really a metal shed, but it would help us get everything in one location and get it under wraps when there's inclement weather. And then 4403, I will let Engineer Jason talk about.
Yeah, so as Julie mentioned, this is the project that would actually look at constructing what we're calling Carson Lake out at the Carson Farm area. The primary purpose of this would be stormwater management and on a regional level, with the goal of having a facility that'd be large enough to have recreational facilities or opportunities as well. This is a concept that's been out there for a number of years, but obviously over time, stormwater regulations evolve. And so the first step here would be to do a study and work with the DNR and Army Corps of Engineers to find out exactly what options are out there or what those requirements might be. And then the second funding year in 2025 would be looking at design for whatever came out of that study, and then finally construction dollars in the last year of 2026 to construct that facility.
And the last one is a trail segment, gateway trail segment along the Iowa River Corridor Trail. This connects to the trail on the east side of the Iowa River from Park Road to where the University of Iowa pedestrian bridge is. So there is a trail on the west side, but quite a bit of use on the east side, so it would be nice to get a trail there as well. Any questions about park projects?
Yeah, so you mentioned that there was a large amount of vandalism at Mercer Park at the shelter. So I guess I'm just wondering if you guys have thought about any measures to try to prevent that. Increase lighting, cameras, or what your thoughts are on
Yeah,
that.
actually, since the shelter damage happened, we have installed new lights and cameras around that parking lot that do help illuminate that area quite well. So yes, we were trying to address it. We aren't always able to do that throughout the system when things happen, and we don't have any one particular area that has been chronically been a problem, but in this case, they did some significant damage, so.
Have you seen decreases of incidents since the lighting and
Oh, yeah.
cameras were placed?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the police have been very helpful in that area, helping us patrol as well, or they've done that.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to police.
Good afternoon, Council. Dustin Liston, Chief of Police. We just have one. It's been on the list for a while. It's finally moved up to the top. It's the natural gas generator for the animal shelter. In the event of a power outage, we'd be able to provide power to the shelter for the animals that are there to provide a comfortable environment for them. Pretty straightforward if there's any questions, though. Thank you.
All right, next up is Public Works, and we'll start out at the landfill.
All right, our first project is landfill equipment building replacement. So we're in the process of finalizing a master plan. The current building that we have out there does not house the size of our existing equipment. So this would be a replacement of that building. Obviously, with the value that we have in that equipment out there, it's important to get it under storage. And as I mentioned on Saturday, one of the issues we had in this last cold stretch was equipment gelling up and not being able to operate. So we did have to close the landfill for one day to be able to address that. Our next project is compost pad improvements. So the area that we currently have at the landfill for yard waste drop-off, and then also our compost processing, it needs repair. There's some issues with failures in the pavement down below, and then also looking at the ability to do some expansion of that area to increase the amount of processing that we can do. The landfill dual extraction system expansion. So we currently have a gas collection system at the landfill. The dual extraction piece is both gas collection, but then also leachate collection. So this expands into the other areas of the landfill that are getting to the end of the actual fill operations and starting to collect those areas, helps address odor issues, and then the potential of leachate mitigation or migration off-site. Along with this project, we'll also be looking at a SCADA upgrade, basically be able to monitor those pumps and production that's out there to know what's going on across the facility.
Ron, we talked about the gas at the wastewater plant on Saturday and how there had been kind of like a measurement error or no problems like that at the landfill. Did we go back and reassess how we were looking at the gas?
That's correct, yeah. So,
Okay.
yes, so there's no decimal errors in
Right.
regards to what we were reporting at this location.
Thank you.
The future landfill cell, so this actually is a project that we have under contract for construction this year. So there's two pieces to this one. There's the actual construction, so that contract was approved in December. And then last night, the tire-derived aggregate purchase was also approved. So that's those two pieces, and move that project forward and get that constructed this year. Compost turner is exactly what it sounds like. So this is an equipment purchase. It will help us in the composting process as far as development goes, and will increase some capacity there at the site as we are able to turn it in a more efficient manner than we do now. Currently, it's basically end loaders kind of flipping it over. This piece of equipment runs along those the compost piles and then just turns it over. And then the last item in regards to landfill is a site flow improvement. So as we work off of the master plan, this will help us deal with some current congestion that occurs, especially in the summers when we have high usage at the landfill. We have kind of 3 lanes out there now. There's a first lane that goes, well, there's one major lane that comes in. The first break off can take you to the household hazardous waste drop off. The second lane takes you to the scale, and then the third lane is kind of a bypass of the scale to get you to where the yard area drop off is, but it all stems off of one location. So as things back up, it's not abnormal for us to see lines that do stack up beyond the gate and down the hill from the current access point. So looking at ways to try to alleviate those traffic issues.
Next up, we'll move on to some stormwater projects. The first one is the Rundell Street Pump Station vault modification. So this is an existing stormwater pump station. This project would look to replace some of the aging equipment within the pump station. In addition, you can see there the location of the vault is right next to curb ramps and sidewalk and whatnot. So one of the modifications that would be there is to redo the vault top to make that ADA compliant as well. The next project is the River Street storm sewer improvements. So this is we have a section along River Street where there's essentially a drainage ditch we have ongoing maintenance issues there. So this would look at installing storm sewer in that location and making other repairs adjacent to that section. The Peterson Street Storm Sewer Improvements Project, this is an existing section of corrugated metal pipe that's reached the end of its useful life. We've actually done some smaller kind of emergency repairs on this line just due to the very poor condition of the existing pipe. This would look at making a replacement of the larger section to take care of those issues and again, replace pipe that's at the end of its useful life.
Jason, I have a question that's maybe a bigger picture question. The River Street one makes me think of it. That ditch, I imagine, has been there for a very long time. How do you decide when to slot in a project like that that's maybe, an old neighborhood and, yeah, there should be some storm sewer there, but...
A lot of it depends on what the issue is. If it's something that's been there for a long time, but it's operating fine and we really don't have, maintenance issues or safety issues, we typically won't look to address that unless there's another opportunity. We usually prioritize those locations, again, we're having to be out there maintaining something a lot of times, or if it's something where, we're seeing localized flooding because there's issues, those issues rise it to the top of the list. But otherwise, the age itself wouldn't necessarily impact where it fits on the priority list.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is the storm sewer asset inventory. So the city is in the process of implementing an asset management program. We're using Cartograph for that. And as part of that, we are populating that data within the system. So we've gone through and done similar asset inventory for water and wastewater, the sanitary sewer system, that kind of thing. And so next up will be the storm sewer with the intent of making sure that we have good data for that system right from the beginning so that we can maximize our use of the asset management system.
The equipment maintenance facility, so this would be a shared, the current plan would be relocating current facility from the old public works site to the new public works site. The intent would be a shared facility with transit and our city fleet as we move this forward. So initially we'll have redevelopment of the master plan and then development of the plans as we move this forward.
Ron, did this change at all with our reacquisition of that corner?
So I guess the diagram that you see up on the screen right now, that will not be the the process that will move forward as far as the layout that we'll move forward with. So obviously, this shows not having the corner site with the option that we had. So when we developed our master plan, the original master plan for the site, we had two different options. There was one without and one with the corner property. The development of the plan with the corner property actually does two separate buildings. So there would be a shared maintenance facility, and then the transit operation would be a separate building on the site. The maintenance facility would front onto Gilbert Street, just south of where our new building is for streets. And then the transit facility actually fronts onto McAllister.
So is that what you would anticipate, is that it will be two separate?
That is our current plan. As we take a deeper dive into things, there may be some modification to that, but currently the way that we're looking at moving forward would be two separate facilities.
The entranceway improvements project, this has a couple different locations. The first one being the Highway 1 interchange with I-80. This project would look at doing some landscaping work to kind of soften up that interchange area, get rid of some of the hardscape and replace it with softscape type materials. The other location would be an entranceway sign along Dubuque Street, and that would be a joint project with the university to look at replacing the existing sign along Dubuque Street. The American Legion Road and First Avenue landscaping project. So recently we constructed new roundabouts at Scott Boulevard and Muscatine and American Legion Road, as well as the one at First Avenue and Scott Boulevard. This project would include landscaping at those roundabouts. In addition, it would include street trees along the American Legion Road project as well. Dubuque Street reconstruction, so this would be the block between Washington Street and Iowa Avenue. This would be improvements that came out of the streetscape master plan. Similar to what was done along Washington Street, it would be a complete reconstruction, utility work, and those types of components as well. Court Street reconstruction, so this would be a complete reconstruction from Muscatine Avenue to First Avenue. This would be new paving, utility improvements, all of that stuff, sidewalks, ADA curb ramps, and all of those that we typically include with our reconstruction projects.
I have a question about that one.
Yeah.
So that will go right by City High, correct? So will there be some additional things like I know there's some bus stops there that are really busy in the morning and the afternoon, traffic flow through there because it's a pretty busy spot, at least twice a day on weekdays. How is this project going to, any sort of redesign elements to accommodate that, and also scheduling with the school district to try and time this out, keeping in mind contractors and everything else? We're often at the mercy of those kinds of things, so.
Yeah, so, as far as the different components of the project, as we work through the design, we typically will look at those items, include, transportation staff and whatnot in that process. So we try and incorporate that as much as we can. From a staging standpoint, I guess the short answer is we do the best we can, but we're completely reconstructing that entire stretch of roadway, so there's going to be challenges there. But certainly we look at ways to stage it so that we can maintain access throughout in some manner, try and maximize what we can do during summers to keep, the worst impacts, I guess, during kind of the off season for schools. But unfortunately, there's going to be impact just because we're talking about a project that's likely going to be, a year plus of construction.
In this area too, and in a lot of older areas, we just don't have a whole lot of right-of-way to work with, in terms of maybe a bus pull-off or larger pedestrian facilities. You can kind of see it on the picture there. The sidewalk's pretty close to back of curb, and it is on back of curb in some locations. We'd love to get those utilities underground, and that's going to be part of this project. But at the end of the day, you only have so much room to work with without really impacting people's front yards and driving the project cost up with land acquisition. So this is a tough one, very similar to what we're going through on Rochester right now, arguably probably even harder than that one.
Jason, I know it hasn't been designed yet, but do we anticipate widening at any points or needing to acquire additional right-of-way?
For Court Street?
Yeah.
For that project, we are planning to stay within the existing right-of-way. So there may be some, I believe there are some easement needs there, but we're limiting it so that we're not taking right-of-way throughout the entire corridor.
What does that mean as far as bike infrastructure, if any, on that road?
So I believe in this location, the bike infrastructure wouldn't be on Court Street. It would be on one of the parallel streets.
I see Kent nodding behind you. Okay, thank you.
The Highway 1, Highway 6 intersection improvement study. So this would be the south intersection of Highway 1, Highway 6. You can see there's kind of an odd kink in the roadway there. So this study would look at geometric improvements to the intersection, help with that, the traffic flow and roadway design in that area. Another big part of this is going to be pedestrian and bicycle connections and facilities there. Obviously, there's a lack of sidewalk and other connections here. This will, with it being in 2024, the goal would be to have this help partner with the DOT project for the Highway 6 bridge that they're going to be replacing over the Iowa River in 2027. So the goal would be to try and coordinate those two projects to make those connections and help to extend the reach of those connections. Next up is the Dodge Street reconstruction from Governor Street to Burlington Street. This would be another one where it's a complete reconstruction, new roadway paving, sidewalk, utilities, all that stuff. You know, with this being a joint project with the DOT and joint jurisdiction, we're working through kind of what that split looks like now, with Dodge Street being a one-way pair with Governor Street. Another thing that had come out of the strategic plan was to look at a one-way to two-way conversion. So we actually are working to get the consultants working on the functional design under contract to look at that and be able to assist with that study and have some findings to present from that as well.
Jason, have you given any thought to the staging on that one?
At this point, not a lot. You know, obviously that's going to be another one that's going to be a challenge. But at this point, with the functional design, we're really looking more at kind of what the roadway geometrics would look like. Kind of the next phase would be to look at staging and that kind of thing.
I mean, one thought that came to some of us in the neighborhood would be to convert Governor to two-way and be able to test the idea on Governor during construction.
Yeah, and that has come up occasionally. You know, usually one of the bigger challenges is just the signals, that you'd have to have additional signals installed, but it's certainly an option that we could consider. Any other questions on that one? All right. Moving on to the Market Street and Jefferson Street two-way conversion. So most of you are familiar with this one. This would be looking at, like the title says, converting Market and Jefferson from one-way traffic to two-way traffic. Would include signal modifications, new ADA curb ramps to make those compliant, pavement markings, and associated work. North Gilbert Street reconstruction. So this is the section from at the north end from Brown Street to Kimball Road. This would be, again, another reconstruction project. This is an area, if you've been up there, the pavement's in very poor condition. Obviously, the grades are steep, and it's a difficult area to travel through. There's limited pedestrian accommodations, and so this project would look to improve those in that area as well. We've started design on this, had our first public meeting. I think that was productive. So we're planning on working through design with construction scheduled in 2025. The Gilbert Street Bridge replacement, so this will be the bridge over Ralston Creek. This one is scheduled for construction in 2023. Anticipate that it's going to be most of the construction year this year, if not all of it. There would be obviously replacement of the bridge. There's some storm sewer work that'll be, and the stream bank stabilization work as well.
Quick question about that. I know that transportation facilities are typically graded. Do you know what the rating for this bridge is at this point?
I don't know offhand. I believe there's the deck, I believe, was in poor condition, but the other components, I believe, are in fair condition. Next up is Taft Avenue reconstruction. So anticipate that this would be similar to what we're doing on American Legion Road. You'd be looking at going from a rural cross-section with drainage ditches to an urban cross-section with curb and gutter and storm sewer. Anticipate it would be, again, very similar to what we're doing on American Legion Road with a concrete street, bicycle facilities, likely a wide sidewalk on one side and sidewalk on both sides. The limits of this would be from American Legion Road up to Lower West Branch Road. The Oakdale Boulevard extension alignment study. So a number of years ago, we had completed a study to look at what a future alignment for Oakdale Boulevard would be east of Highway 1. Occasionally we get interest in development in kind of the Northgate area. And when those do come up, part of what we're trying to do is make sure that we maintain and reserve that corridor for future construction. So this is just looking at updating that alignment study to make sure we have that alignment in the location we want it in for reservation as we work through those projects.
While I'm thinking about our new counselor question. Can you just give a quick update on, or quick history on what the streets study that was done, like the grading? We just had that done in 2020, I believe is when we had that, and how this plays into some of these projects.
The pavement management plan?
Yes.
Yeah, so we had a consultant come in and basically look at our program for what we do for maintenance projects. That would be reconstruction projects, overlays, PCC patching, all that kind of stuff. And they came through and kind of evaluated what we have for pavement data. And what we do, similar to other communities, I believe it's Iowa State University has a program where they'll come through with their vehicle and kind of collect data for city streets, and they give us what's called a PCI, or pavement condition index. And so we've been collecting that data for a number of years. So they kind of come in, look at what our current condition is, kind of what it's been historically, and then they help to provide a program or a schedule of projects to help address our maintenance needs. So that was kind of what the program did. We use that a lot for our pavement management program. So what we do for overlays every year, or PCC patching, that helps to educate kind of that program. Usually what we'll do is we'll take what they had proposed, as well as kind of inputting data from, whether we get complaints or other factors locally to kind of pull together our program. And so that's a 5-year program as well.
Thank you.
Next up is the Burlington Street Bridge Replacement Project. So this will be a big one, obviously. For those of you that are familiar with the area, there's actually 2 bridges that cross the river that are Burlington Street. The South Bridge is owned and maintained by the city. The North Bridge is owned and maintained by the DOT, but they are both Highway 1 and Burlington Street. So ours is the South Bridge, and it's to the point where it's reaching the end of its useful life. So we are looking at replacement of that bridge. As part of the project, we've been working with the DOT, and the plan at this point is to look at replacing both bridges and going away from 2 separate bridges and having it be one structure that would ultimately be owned and maintained by the DOT. In addition to the bridge replacement, we'll also be looking at some other issues in this area. One would be the pedestrian overpass over Riverside Drive. That's something that's in need of repair or replacement, so we would look at doing that as part of this project as well. We'll be looking at the geometrics of the Grand Avenue, Burlington Street, and Riverside Drive intersection. It's another one that's got kind of an odd kink in it, part of that with the two bridges there. So looking at addressing that as well. And then also looking at the Grand Avenue, Byington Road, and Melrose corridor, and looking at options to making that two-way traffic. And to one big benefit of that would be to connect the bike lanes on Burlington Street to the existing bike lanes on Melrose. So really just trying to make that a much better multimodal corridor and connections to that area.
Jason, I see in the write-up it says looking at the feasibility of eliminating the dam, meaning like the roller dam there.
Yes. So good reminder, I forgot to mention that. But yeah, that's another piece. And the dam is actually owned and maintained by the university. And so we will look at options for either making modifications to that or removal of that, and just see what we can do. Obviously, removal and replacement of the bridges are a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to address that.
And there are some type of utilities under there, the current dam.
Yeah, yep. There's utilities that run through the dam. There's utilities that are through the bridge. So there's a lot of utilities in this area.
And is removal of that dam part of our Destination Iowa grant proposal too, Jeff?
No.
Okay.
The time frame for that wouldn't work with the Destination Iowa. Those are projects that they want to get launched, I think, within 12 months of award. So this one is a few years in the making if we can make it work. But there may be grants for low-head dam removals like this. So it's something we'll explore as part of the project.
What's the advantage of a dam removal?
Primarily public safety.
Yeah.
Very dangerous dams. It's tough for anybody to survive passing through a dam like this. So if there's any alternatives, it's certainly advantageous to pursue those. And then the added benefit then is it can increase recreational and fishing opportunities along the river too. So if we wanted to do any, right now you couldn't take a canoe right from City Park down to Sturgis Ferry. It would allow for that. You could do some whitewater type of courses. And a number of cities in Iowa have had success doing that. So something we looked at briefly with the development of Riverfront Crossings Park, but ultimately the price tag was too much. And knowing that this project was around the corner, this is probably the appropriate time to take the good hard look at it.
All right, thank you.
So, Iowa as an agricultural state has done a lot to straighten its rivers and streams and very much increases flow rate and has a major impact on soil degradation and erosion. And I'm just wondering if you have, this does exist right now, just having any idea of the kinds of speed increases that would become that would come from removal and potential, downstream soil erosion impacts, if you guys have thought about that.
I don't offhand, and that would all be something we would look at as we work through that process. And again, at this point, I don't think anybody's ready to say that we will remove it. I think we're just going to have to look at those options. I think more than anything, it was just a great opportunity to do that, and there's been interest in the past. So I can't say for certain what direction it will go, but certainly something we want to make sure we look hard at this time.
Thank you.
All right. Speaking of pedestrian overpasses over Riverside Drive, next project is the overpass at Iowa Avenue. So this is one we currently are working through the design now for rehabilitation of that existing overpass. This would be a joint project with the DOT and university. The Kitty Lee Road functional design. So Kitty Lee Road is located just west of Menards. So again, out there at the Carson Farm area, as we're looking at potential development of the Carson Farm area, one of the questions that comes up is secondary access. So would anticipate that the primary access would come off of Raritt Road initially. Kitty Lee is one of the few existing roadways in the area that could potentially provide for that secondary access, at least initially. And so this would be a preliminary functional design to look at what improvements might be needed if that connection were to occur early on. The intent is that long-term, this wouldn't necessarily be the main connection, but again, would be kind of on a short-term basis.
Is Kitty Lee Road currently paved or no?
It's chip seal. Next up is the Camp Cardinal Road, Kennedy Parkway pedestrian accommodation. So this is a project that we would partner with Coralville. And what we would do here is the existing intersection of Kennedy Parkway and Camp Cardinal has through lanes as well as turn lanes, limited pedestrian crossing accommodations. So what this would do is look at sort of repurposing the existing right turn lanes and providing for a pedestrian island in the middle to help with the pedestrian crossing movements at this location. The North Dodge Street ACT circle signalization. So as the title says, this would be installing a traffic signal at this existing intersection to help with especially turning vehicles from the ACT circle approach. Iowa Avenue improvements, so this would be looking at the area kind of between Clinton Street and Gilbert Street, would be improvements to address some pavement issues that we're having out there, look at ADA curb ramp accommodations, as well as kind of refreshing some of the street furniture and landscaping features of the corridor. High Street and Southgate Avenue sidewalk infill. So this would be a sidewalk infill project at a couple of locations. The first one is High Street. So this is one where we've received requests from residents of a Systems home to provide for connection to existing sidewalk facilities and provide for that additional accommodations. The other one would be Southgate Avenue sidewalk infill. It would really be providing that connection across the railroad tracks between existing or anticipated sidewalk in that area.
All right, moving on to wastewater projects. So the first project is our digester complex rehabilitation. This project stemmed out of when we made a change in our treatment process in 2014 with the plant upgrade. We're having issues with the struvite development within the plant itself, which was causing a major maintenance issue. As we've been doing the initial research on the project and looking at the overall plan, we found that with some chemical addition in the process, we can eliminate a majority of that struvite development. So this project, so the struvite removal itself is about a $14 million project. So with the chemical addition here, we would be looking at adding a chemical building, so that's about a $1.4 million improvement. But then the remainder of that money, funding that was available there, would be used for deferred maintenance that's occurred in the plant. You know, the plant was built 1989. We had an upgrade in 2002. So we're looking at some deferred maintenance in that digester complex area, and so we would utilize that funding to move that maintenance forward.
Ron, I meant to ask this on Saturday, but you mentioned kind of offhandedly during that presentation that the chemical injection for the struvite removal didn't have any like side effects.
It does not. Yeah. So it's using ferric as an additive to help offset that development. So it's iron basically in the end, and so as that process collects the phosphorus that's there, it ends up in the biosolids that then are land applied. So it actually increases the fertilizer content that's in that biosolid.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Just want to say, improve sludge quality was not a phrase I was expecting to read today.
It's, yeah, one of those wonderful things, right? Mm-hmm. So the next project is a South Sewer. So this is upgrading a sewer that currently runs down Abbey Lane on the west side of town. So from Willow Creek Park, Kiwanis Park to Mormon Trek, across 218, and opening up sanitary sewer for the Carson Farm area. So that's that area west of 218 and south of Railroad Road. This project will be a tap-on fee project, so as development occurs in that area, the developers will pay for access to that sewer as it moves forward. Bend Street trunk sewer improvements. So this is in the area south of Melrose and the Emerald Westgate area. We currently have sewer in that area that runs underneath buildings, and obviously access to that then is a challenge. So this will relocate that sewer and increase the. We also have some sizing issues there, so it would upsize the sewer, but then also provide for better access to that sewer as we move forward. It kind of in that vein of deferred maintenance. So we have pumps that are original to the plant. So we have a return activated sludge pump replacement project, and then we also have some influent pump station pump replacements also there at the plant site. The Napoleon lift station improvements. So this is at Napoleon Park. This is the pump station that basically all of the wastewater that comes from the west side of town actually is pumped through this pump station. So this is redeveloped, looking at pumps, but then also looking at the bar screen improvements as a part of this for this lift station area.
Ron, will everything from the Raritt go through this then?
It will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the flow is east, right? Yeah. That's where the wastewater plant is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So our main trunk runs through Willow Creek Park and along Willow Creek, and so as it comes down around the airport, then crosses the river just to the north of McAllister Boulevard, where the McAllister Boulevard Bridge is. We have some roof replacement projects that we're looking at. There again, deferred maintenance at the wastewater treatment plant. We've done some initial studies in regards to assessments of those roofs, and then this project will act on that plan. The Highlander lift station. So this is the lift station that is north of I-80, just to the north of the BP Amoco that sits on the west side of Highway 1 Dodge Street. This pump station is in need of some just maintenance, and then also looking at maybe developing an additional pump in that lift station itself. Vehicle replacements. So this is our jet truck replacement. It's actually on order. So this is basically the money to move forward the replacement of that vehicle. And then as we move forward with this vehicle, I think it will actually go to an 8-year replacement timeline on this vehicle versus where we're at today. We have HVAC replacement down at the wastewater plant. So there again, HVAC units that are original to the plant, and it's time for replacement. They're at the end of their useful life. The primary clarifiers, we had a project a couple years ago where we've done some repair work. Basically, this is the rebuilding of those, the clarifiers there. These were due in 2002. So there again, we're 20 years out in regards to some deferred maintenance on those. The wastewater division master plan. So this is actually looking at an overall master plan for our sanitary sewer system. We did this in 2010 as we were looking at the upgrade to the plant. So this is, there again, looking at the overall service area of our plant and just making sure that as we're looking out in future years, we kind of know what the needs are as development occurs. Effluent water pump station improvements. So currently at our plant, we pump effluent to the soccer park, and they use that for irrigation. So this would be upgrading, adding at least one additional pump in that area, and then also looking at the filtering system that's a part of that as we pump it to that area. And then the last project is the digester gas improvement. So as we've been doing the digester complex studies, as Laura mentioned earlier, we did find that when we had the original biogas study done, there was some decimal errors in regards to the amount of gas that was being produced by the plant. And so because of that, it appears that there is feasibility to look at digester gas line injection project. So basically the collection of the digester gas and then injecting it into a gas pipeline for use by a utility company. This project obviously is new this year. We've just included this one. There's also some potential that there be some infrastructure funds available through the IIJA funding to help offset some of the costs of this project and potentially some of our digester complex improvements.
Moving on to the water side of things. So as part of the sort of overall water system maintenance, you'll see here, we try and do at least one water main replacement project a year. Again, just trying to keep up with maintenance of the overall system. So the first one here is Bradford Drive. So we'd be looking at approximately 2,500 feet of water main replacement for this project. Up at the water plant, there's a few equipment replacements. Again, looking at a plant that's getting to the point where some of the original equipment needs to be replaced. The first project here is the high service pump VFD replacement. So these are variable frequency drives on the high service pumps. The waterfront meeting room AV upgrades. So up at the water plant in the front there, they have a meeting room which is really popular for training and other meetings for city use. It's a good facility, but overall the AV facilities are less than ideal. It's kind of oriented odd. The entry doors are kind of right up front where your speaker might be. So, if someone has to get up and use the bathroom, it's kind of an odd layout. The projector is just a portable projector that's set on a table. And so it's really just kind of outdated and in need of repair or updating just to make it more usable for those types of events. The Highway 6 water main replacement, again, this would be a replacement of existing water main. Be looking at the section from Fair Meadows to Industrial Park Road. This would be 16-inch main, again, along Highway 6. Water treatment study, or water treatment technology study, sorry, would look at the sort of the water production process that we use. Obviously with the evolution of contaminants and nutrients that are kind of in the news these days. This would look at our treatment process and see if there might be improvements or changes that we could make to better align with what the current requirements are or where we see those going in the future. So the first step of that would be to do a study to look at that process and see if there might be changes that would be recommended in the future. Or a future project here, you'll see that there would then be money set aside for implementing whatever findings come out of that study. Collector well number 2, cleaning and upgrade. So this would be looking at cleaning some of the existing laterals as well as the potential for installing new 12-inch laterals, really looking at basically getting back some of the capacity or increasing the capacity of that well. Next is an HVAC study for the water plant, similar to kind of what we were looking at down at the wastewater plant. We'd be looking at a study of existing facilities for recommendations for improvements or upgrades that might be needed in that those HVAC components. Similar, again, to the wastewater side of things up at the water plant and well houses and those facilities, looking at roof replacements that are, again, just ones that are in need of replacement and are reaching the end of their useful life. As I mentioned, as we look at that water treatment process, this would be the project to actually implement whatever findings come out of the study that was the previous project. The Melrose Avenue water main replacement project, this would be looking at replacing existing water main from along Melrose Avenue from Camp Cardinal Road through kind of the Highway 218 interchange. The next project is the Powerhouse Dam rehabilitation. So the existing roller dam there is actually a water asset. And so a couple years ago, we had some divers go out there, do some inspections, and identified some areas that are in need of repair. So this would be the money to complete those repairs. GSR upgrade and repairs, so this would be a project to, as the title says, make upgrades and repairs at some of our GSRs, and those are the ground storage reservoirs, so that's where we store water out in the system for further distribution, and those would be the Rochester, Emerald, and Sycamore Street locations. The water plant flow meter replacement is an equipment replacement. Again, equipment that's reached the end of its useful life, so it'd be flow meters up at the water plant. Water storage, so this would be looking at water storage options basically on the west side and the east side. Would be looking at the various options there. It could be ground storage, it could be elevated storage. Again, kind of looking at not only from a storage side of things, but also potential improvements to the system pressure and other improvements that could be made in those locations. Do you know this one?
So we have currently, we made the change in our radio system from a city-owned system onto the JEC system. So at our site at North Dodge Street, we have one antenna left on that site, and that actually is an antenna that we utilize to get access to the Peninsula well field. So the way it goes, the signal goes from the Peninsula well field to the site at North Dodge back to our plant site. And so what we're looking at here is the potential to either relocate that antenna to the Crandic Park area where we have a stormwater pump station, where we would then have access to fiber there and go back to the plant via fiber versus the antenna option, then would give us the ability to vacate and abandon that antenna site completely at North Dodge.
Then the last project in this section would be the relocation of the bulk water station. So this would be the existing bulk water station up at the existing equipment site. So this is where contractors and other users that use a lot of water at one time, fill in water tanks or whatever they might need for their construction activities. This is one of the locations they get that water. So it would be moving it down to the public works site, make improvements to that. One thing that would allow is to make improvements that will allow for it to be better used during cold weather months, sorry. So, yeah. Any questions?
I had a water question, and maybe this is for Jeff. We had talked at a joint entities meeting, I think a year or so ago, about an aquifer study that the county was considering undertaking. Does anybody know anything about that?
Do you recall, I believe John Durst was involved in looking at that issue?
Yeah, I know, obviously, there's been a lot of analysis of the aquifer. We have access to it through a well on the plant site. We don't utilize it that much, so our utilization is fairly low, just because we have the collector, wells, and it really end up being more of a surface water plant than we are a well system. I can follow up with John on that and find out kind of what the status of that is for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on public works projects?
I guess all I'd want to know is just, if you could just keep me updated on the dam issue.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. If nothing else, we'll move on to transportation.
All right, again, Darian Nagel-Gam, Director of Transportation. We just have 6 CIP projects to go through that I'll brief you on very quickly. The first of which is video cameras for parking facilities. We already do have video cameras in all of our parking facilities. We use them every day to help folks who get in a jam. We help them get out of the parking ramp, so we do have them at our exits. But this would be a project to expand the cameras throughout the facilities and add more cameras. We rely on them not only for operations, but to monitor capacity and also for safety and security, both for staff and for the public. So this would be an expansion of the cameras that we have at our parking facilities. The second project is replacement of LED fixtures in the ramp. This was perhaps one of the first climate action projects of the city, climate action / cost savings efficiency projects. So all of our parking facilities have LED lights, and they basically aged out of production. They've been in there so long, and at a certain point they start to fail, and we're at that point. And you can kind of tell the quality degrades a bit over time as we're starting to learn what happens with LED lights over time. So you can tell some of the facilities we've been replacing the lights. It's brighter, it's lighter, and we just want to continue that throughout all of our facilities. So that's a project to keep those lights new and refreshed.
Do you happen to have any of the information for power savings since implementation projected versus actual?
I would imagine, I don't have any offhand, but I would imagine that our climate action team does have that information compiled as part of the annual report, and I can connect you with that information.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, next project is Tower Place drainage modification. So this is one you've seen in recent years. I think we got a better sense of what the cost estimate is going to be. As you'll notice that the cost certainly did increase this year, but really this is a project to modify the existing drainage pipe network. This is a unique facility in that the stormwater drains to the middle of the facility and not on the outside of the facility. And what we've been finding perhaps as our climate has been changing and we've been having more and more really intense, rapid, short-term, really intense rainfall situations, that the lower level parking condo, which is entered off of Gilbert Streets, has flooded multiple times because the stormwater system for the facility just cannot keep up with those really intense short-term rainfall. So this project is one that would help to, I would say, disperse the stormwater both to the interior structure that it's been built with, but also add some structure on the outside so that we don't have those intense rainfall events that are causing flooding of vehicles in the lower level. Tower Place office remodel. So Tower Place, another project in the parking ramp. This one would be in our parking office. This would be redesign and remodel of the area to meet our needs today. We've outgrown our space. We don't have enough space for all the employees that are there. Our storage needs have changed over time, and we really just need to reconfigure that space to meet our needs today. So that's what that project is. The fifth project we have is transit maintenance facility relocation. So Nicole talked about that a little bit earlier. We talked about it a little bit on Saturday as well. But really, the transit facility has reached the end of its useful life, which is about 40 years. It happens to be 40 years old. So when it was built in the 80s, in the early 80s, it was built on top of, at a great location, I might add, but on top of a dump site. So we have been battling land, soil, subsidence issues for years. There's some places in the parking lot where we have up to 10, 15 feet of asphalt deep, because every year or so we have to go lay more asphalt on top to make sure that the buses can still get in the building. That's kind of what we're dealing with at that facility. So besides the aging condition, which is, again, it's a 40-year-old facility, and It's well-worn, it's well-used, it's well-loved, but we are having weekly repairs necessary at that facility. Just this week, there's no water fountain. Our water fountain has met its maker. We have sensor issues in the doors. The bus wash broke down. These are just commonplace things that happen. Unfortunately, our HVAC systems, which it requires 6 different units to keep the facility heated and cooled, we've had to replace 2 of them this year, which is not something we'd love to be investing this money in a new facility versus maintaining, but those are expenses that we just have to compensate for. So this project, we are pursuing federal funding for this, actively, persistently pursuing federal funding. Our first grant process for this year, we'll be submitting one at the end of next month. So it's a big price tag for this facility, but we should be able to recoup approximately 75% of those costs and get reimbursement for 75% of those costs through a federal grant process. So that's really exciting news. We'll get some significant help to make this project come to life. But we do need to, it is a reimbursement process, so we need to have the project programmed and funded, which is why the project is here awaiting the next steps, which I think Ron alluded to this earlier too. We were awarded, I should back it up for a second, we were awarded $750,000 in congressionally designated funds early last year, which is fantastic. We're very excited about that to begin design. So we're beginning to put together an RFP so we can go out and bring a team on board to help us commence design. We are actually already going through the environmental and planning review process with the FTA, so that's a Federal Transit Administration. So we're getting everything lined up to be able to launch this project whenever we get lucky and we get that great notification that we received the grant. So we'll continue pursuing it, but that is, of course, a big project for us, and hopefully we see some movement this year.
This question is certainly premature, but I'm just curious what thought has gone into what happens with the facility after it is vacated and transitioned to the new one.
Do you want to take it, Jeff, or I can take it? It's up to you. Either way, there's multiple options for it's a great location. It's a great location for multiple uses. It could potentially be subdivided. It's all city-owned facilities, so really the city is in the driver's seat and can determine what the use is. I think the federal interest will run out at 40 years, so I think we're going to hit that before we move into a new facility. So I think there's a lot of options. Jeff had mentioned potentially looking at having some of it be allocated for open space and kind of continuing that riverfront crossings corridor across the river, providing more outdoor amenities. Potentially, it's a pretty large parcel at a great location, so I think there's really a lot of different options. I don't think we have anything hammered out right now.
Yeah, just
what size are we talking about in terms of acres?
It's a great question. I don't know offhand what the size is.
You really have to look at it as the entire Public Works campus, and I don't know the acreage off of that, but if you think about Riverfront Crossings Park, and we know the DOT is going to be replacing that bridge in 5 years across the river. I really see it as an opportunity to extend Riverfront Crossings Park south and connect it in with Sturgis Ferry and create a tremendous greenway along the Iowa River. Now there is, as you move towards the corner of that Highway 1, Highway 6 intersection, there is some good land there, and I do think it's worth us taking a good hard look at whether there's other municipal needs right there. One of the exercises we want to go through this year is looking at this building and the space needs study of this building, knowing that we can't continue to fully accommodate police, fire, and city hall in this building. We're full, so one or more of those operations probably needs to move out. So we want to take a look at whether it would be an option to move police to that corner. Again, great location in terms of its access in the community, and it's kind of central nature. But we'd want to kind of blend that into a park. So those are just some preliminary thoughts that I think have some merit that we want begin to think about as this date gets closer.
Thank you.
I will say kudos to staff for the constant interactions with trying to get some funding and all of the other partnerships that is involved in trying to make this happen. This facility, I've toured a couple of times now and been in some meetings. It is sinking. You can clearly see that it's sinking. And so even if we were to reuse the land, it will need. I don't know what it would need to make sure that it doesn't continue to sink, but I think there'll be a lot of options that we'll be able to visit. So thanks to all of you, the work that you all do and all of the partners and other staff that has also been a part of it.
Appreciate that, Ed. We are hoping that this is our year.
Yes.
Darian, are there any concerns environmental-wise with what perhaps is in the ground or what had been there with the landfill? Are there any concerns with that, with like air quality or what we potentially might use this land for?
It was a landfill, and it was permitted to the DNR. That has been closed, and the DNR has stepped away from that area. So, from a potential contaminant issue, currently we don't see any issues there right now.
Good.
We did have, as a part of one of the improvements of the transit facility, we did have a methane collection system that was installed underneath the transit facility. We have gone through, and that has actually been turned off, and we're no longer using it, just because it was having some issues in regards to additional subsidence underneath the building, but it really wasn't collecting any methane.
Just one other thing to keep in mind with that site, particularly as you work further south from the highway there, you do start to intersect with the runway protection zones from the airport. So even if it were developable ground and we didn't want to use it for, say, park space, you're going to run into some significant conflicts with the runways there.
Do you guys know when the last time there was a soil study done on the site?
I am not certain exact timeline. I know that we have had Terracon, one of a soil and environmental company, come in, and we've done some phase 1 work at that site, basically looking at the ability to have it be a shovel-ready site for future development. So we have done those environmental assessments on that site previously.
Thank you.
All right, and one last project for transportation services is our transit bus video system. And this is a new project this year, and it's one that we need every 5 to 10 years, just depending on how the equipment holds up. But we do have an on-bus security camera system. We use it for safety and security of staff and the public. It gets beat up being on the bus 24/7, day after day, and it does get shook up a bit, and it's AV equipment, and we have definitely reached the end of the useful life for this round, and we've been having increasing difficulty with equipment failure and with responding to requests for video from PD, let's say, and we don't have the video because the equipment failed, and it's time to replace it and move on to a new one. So it's really time to invest in a new system and new equipment so we can make sure that reliability is where we need it to be.
Great.
All right, thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions on that, we'll move on to our final section. We're almost done. So the on the radar section, these are the projects that don't show up or maybe show up for design but not for construction in the current plan, but projects that we want to make sure you're aware of that are kind of in that next section of years, I guess, outside of the current 5-year plan.
So East Side Sports Complex is 70-plus acre site on the east side. We've done some tree planting to prepare it for park use in the future. The master plan shows a number of athletic fields, but also neighborhood park space. We did ask questions about this as part of the rec facilities and program master plan. And the priority there was to invest first in our current athletic fields, which we've been doing. So City Park baseball fields recently had renovations. We're doing Mercer as we speak, and then Napoleon is in the CIP. So we want to keep this on the radar for as we continue working on all of our athletic fields and continue to have use in all of them.
Next project would be the McAllister Boulevard extension. So we recently completed the section between Gilbert Street and Sycamore Street. So this would be the next section to the east that would continue it from the roundabout on Sycamore Street up to Highway 6. The Foster Road elevation, so again, we had talked about the functional design that we're currently doing now. This would be potential construction of the improvement project should development in the area not provide that secondary access. This would be another option to provide that resilient access to the Peninsula neighborhood and other neighborhoods in that area. Taft Avenue reconstruction. We have a currently funded project for the section between American Legion Road up to Lower West Branch Road. This would be keeping in mind that there's the two sections kind of on each end. So the section on the south end from American Legion Road down to 420th Street, as well as the north end from Lower West Branch up to Herbert Hoover Highway. The Burlington Street Bridge Replacement Project, this is, again, one where we will start design and start trying to put money away for construction of the project, but we anticipate actual construction probably beginning, right now it's penciled in for 2028. The Highway 6 bridge over the Iowa River, again, this won't be our project, but it's one that we anticipate will have a major impact on our community. So the Highway 6 bridge would be a DOT project, and again, that currently is scheduled for construction in 2027. And then the last project on the list, Park Road reconstruction. This is one that previously had been in a funded year. With all the challenges of the CIP this year, unfortunately, it fell out of a funded year, so it's currently unfunded. This would be the section from Rocky Shore Drive to Riverside Drive. When we made the decision to take that out of the program, we are looking at if there might be other options, whether that might be an overlay or other maintenance to help with that corridor to extend the life to get to a point where it can fall into a funded year for reconstruction. And with that, that is our list. Happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. Any other discussion by council at this time? Well, appreciate all of the staff coming forth and sharing. And again, I wanted to introduce our newest member to our staff that's still in the room, Councilor Andrew Dunn. And so I'm sure you'll have opportunities at some point to meet and talk to him. But with that, we will say good evening to everyone and see you around in 2023.